the 28th day of January 2026. Finally, we're in the last stretch. This is the last Wednesday of the year. Just 2 days until we wrap it up.
Of the year?
Of the year. You know, January is the longest. January ikisha, mwaka imeisha.
Prevalent ni date 67th.
67th of the year.
67th of January.
Bas. So actually, tumesema 2 days remaining until the end of January. Hiyo ya year wachana nayo. It's an International Day for Reducing CO2 Emission Day, and I'll just read it kidogo. It's here to raise awareness about and encourage people all over the world to do their part in taking care of the environment and the planet. My name is Ann Odida. Karibu sana.
Yes, my name is Fred Ndimuli. Karibu sana. And of course, when it comes to the headlines, there's one that's very scary. Yeah? Chunga sana. Chemical castration. We'll be looking at this. For men to end rape. Jana alikuwa naongelea kuhusu
erectile dysfunction.
Erectile dysfunction. The stani kama wameamua this week.
Yes, boy child first.
Anyway, let's take a look.
It. Fresh, independent, very different.
Let's take a look at the headlines.
No longer in charge. That's the standard.
Yes, I agree with the standards. Daily Nation, 11 billion shillings looted from SHA. Guess what? In 6 months.
Where?
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. Taifa leo, wabunge wa bei ya jioni. Wow.
Haraka ile bei ya jioni tukienda. People Daily, opportunity knocks. Can they seize it before 2027? Who are they? They are there on the front page of the People Daily. We'll be looking at that later.
Now the Star, chemical castration for men to end rape.
Wow. That's a story on pages 4 and 5 of this paper. But the other one is about women aged 15 to 49 who've ever experienced physical violence by county. Leading county?
Kakamega.
Hapana. Ni actually Eldoret. 41.9. Kakamega is 40.1.
It's not even Eldoret. It's
Uasin Gishu.
Nyeri has 53.7.
Wow. Nyeri.
Yes.
I thought it's the other way around in Nyeri.
We'll be back to take a look at it.
All right. Business Daily, house prices rise fastest since 2015 as land slows. We want to invest kwa land, chunga sana. That's a Business Daily.
All right.
On State of the Nation, we'll be having two senators, Joe Nyoto of Murang'a and Dr. Danson Mongatana of Tana River. We'll also be having Professor Fred Ogola, who's an economics and governance expert, helping us look at the dailies today. Of course, the big one, the violence that we witnessed in Wetima Odhaya on Sunday, and of course, what's happening within the UDA and ODM parties as they look to form a coalition.
Like Sharon, being a Wednesday, matters of the heart now is the new normal: situationships, ghosting, and commitment fear. What am I going to commit sana?
Kwanza niliona mdosi akiuliza hii situationships ni nini?
Amwelewi.
Tunataka kusema watu wazee waelewi what a situationship is.
Basi, this is the show to watch today. Akuje tu ajue.
Only young people understand what a situationship is.
Uwelewi.
Would you explain what a situationship is?
Yeah.
What is it?
It's strings with no attached. No strings attached.
No strings attached.
Unafanya mambo yako.
Tuko hapo na tuko sure kunaenda aje.
Hakuna hata cha tuko sure. You know your place. Like you do not go. Yani yenu tu ni commit and do what you're doing and go home.
Wow. Okay. This is 2026.
Yes, and this is my panel today. This very lovely young man and women will be having this conversation. What do they think? This generation, are they normalizing situationships, ghosting, and commitment fear? Ghosting, I agree. Lakini hapo, sawa, tutaongelea 8 a.m. Stay tuned. Tuvuke boda. Uganda, daily monitor new power centers, low turnout, and on a day when biometric voter verification machines sprang back to life, many voters were conspicuously absent, leaving municipal and division mayoral candidates scrambling to woo the few who turned up at polling stations across the country. This is Uganda. By press time, vote tallying was still underway at several centers. And of course, they've covered this story on several pages. Those in early leader also here on the front page. Kabale Municipality, that is Mr. Emmanuel there. Nebi Municipality, NRM also in Ara Central. NRM kila mahali, Mr. Malone, Avutia in Ayu Division. I'm trying to...
There's one NUP here, Mukono Municipality.
NUP wako tu wawili. Independent pia wako wawili. So ni NRM inatawala.
Probably that informs you why there was a poor voter turnout for these mayoral polls. But then again, it's interesting that the biometric voter verification machines are back to life. After the main general election is over, sasa zimerudi, now they are working. For the main one, they just refused to work. Of course, it's because they switched off the internet. The internet is back on.
All right, other quick headlines. Father Sekabira denied bail, he weeps. That's another story on page 8. Bakama defends Museveni's victory. The Mamdani story, how Nairobi stole Kampala's dinner.
Hapo tumepata stray.
Wow.
Tumelimwa moja, page 26-27. Find out, I think we've been riding too much on that Ugandan who became a mayor in the US. Sasa inakani kama ni wa kwetu kumbe ni wa Uganda.
Wow.
So Ugandans are not very happy.
Oh, yeah. Tuliwaibia. Government chief Whip Obwa wept in a jury repeat poll. Oh, wow. That's the Daily Monitor.
All right. Unfortunately, the New Vision hawajamka. So gazeti yao ile iko ni ile ya jana. So let's move on to Tanzania. And we start off with the Citizen. Why Mbagala realities hold the key to BRT profitability. Na hizi basi zao za rapid bus transport imekuwa shida. The recent revelation that Moffat, the operator of bus rapid transit services along Kilwa Road in Dar es Salaam, has called for the removal of daladalas from the route. Daladalas ni ile matatu ingine zile za kawaida.
Ndogo, 14-seater.
To boost demand highlights deeper structural and socio-economic realities in Mbagala that could pose significant operational challenges for transport companies. Now, you see, we've always said that whatever happens with the BRT in Tanzania, cha mwenzako kikinyolewe chako tia maji. We should expect the same in Kenya. So does it mean that once the BRT is operational in Nairobi, then we'll start saying that we don't want to see matatus in the CBD?
Yes.
More or less, it will come up. So from the commuter perspective, BRT fares are capped at 1,000 shillings, while daladala fares range from 600 to 800.
Wow.
So they're actually cheaper. Alafu wanasema tuwasikuje ndio hao charge. It should actually make transportation even cheaper than daladalas. Anyway, Samia, the president, make tree planting part of urban planning, and you can see the president there planting a tree. And she's urging land and urban planning authorities across Tanzania to ensure that new plots include green spaces and provisions for free planting in housing and land use schemes. What happened to the tree planting in Kenya? 15 billion trees.
It's ongoing.
Watu walinyamaza.
Trufena Muthoni yule
alihag
world record holder. Actually, Sinieni ana spearhead sasa that thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So with the road to 15 billion trees, we're still on it. Hope as conjoined twins arrive in Saudi Arabia. You saw the conjoined twins on the front page of this paper yesterday. They finally made it to Saudi Arabia, where surgery is expected to take place. So those are the main stories. The only other one here revealed the low application link in Handeni Bridge crisis, and that's the Citizen.
Tukisalia kule Bongo, Mwananchi, hofu ya tanda, magari yenye chesisi namba yatumika hadi usiku mnene bila kuwa na usajili. Wananchi wayataja kuhusika na matukio ya uhalifu. Zimo pia bodaboda, polisi lawamani, polisi na TRA wazungumzia. Now these are vehicles without number plates. Wanna go around the city.
So they only use the chassis number. That is their only identification.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey.
Ikipata accident hata mjui, hata have you ever seen the chassis number?
Samia atoa agizo kwa mipango miji. That's another story we've talked about it in the Citizen, and this is ahead of today, International Reducing CO2 Emission Day. Usimamizi mbovu wa sheria janga kwa jamii ni habari nyingine hapo katika ukurasa wa 7. Chadema kutoa kauli hatima ya no reform. Na miaka 30 ya chama cha demokrasia na maendeleo imekuwa na chungu tamu kadhaa ambazo wenyewe wanasema zimekijenga na kuimarisha chama hicho kwa viwango vya juu. Habari katika ukurasa wa ndani. Yaliyotokea Oktoba 29 yatua bungeni. Wameanza kuzungumzia in parliament. That's another story there. And these are the regional dailies.
We'll be back to take a look at these ones in a short while.
Tuangalie hali ya anga sasa.
Hali ya anga. Hali ya anga, kijoto chaendelea kuripotiwa kwingi. Tunaanza na the Lake Victoria region. That's Siaya. So in Siaya, it's quite warm this morning at 19 degrees. They say it's a cloudy day today. Yes, indeed, cloudy throughout the day. Highs of 29, which is slightly cooler than what we saw in Kisumu yesterday and Homa Bay. But from tomorrow, goes up straight to 31 degrees, and that will continue into next week. 31 degrees, but some chance of precipitation as well.
All right, 20 coast, Lamu, 26 degrees this morning, feels like 28. It's a cloudy day. As you can see, precipitation is 10% in Lamu, but it's very hot, highs of 31 degrees. And this is the weather all through this week up until next week.
All right. From Lamu, we go to the Rift Valley region. A chilly morning in Eldoret, 12 degrees, also a partly cloudy day. Highs of 26 in Eldoret today, which is comfortable weather, very little chance of precipitation, but the temperatures are expected to go higher to 27 for the rest of the week. Up north,
Turkana, 26 degrees this morning. It's a mostly cloudy day, like very hot. Highs of 37 degrees today. From tomorrow, it goes up to 38 degrees.
Akukaliki Turkana. Akukaliki ata. What about Nyeri? The Mount Kenya region, fairly cold weather this morning, 14 degrees in Nyeri, also a cloudy day, highs of 27 degrees. This will continue for the rest of the week, dropping slightly to 26 degrees. So comfortable weather. Iya Nyeri ni kama hiyo Eldoret, not so bad.
Twende Masaku, this is Machakos, 20 degrees this morning.
I think that's the hottest we've seen so far.
It's very hot. Highs of 31 degrees today. Precipitation is 10%. They're saying just for about 4 hours. Like in this one, it's a very hot day. This, from tomorrow, it goes up to 33 degrees.
Machakos, 33 degrees. Wow. And this will continue for the rest of the week, even next week. What about Nairobi? We had actually anticipated that today will even be hotter. But yeah, highs of 27 degrees, which is about the most comfortable weather you'll experience in the city. Because tomorrow, 29 degrees. Friday, 28, and it remains there for a huge part of the weekend and into next week. So today, mostly cloudy, not so bad. But it's warm this morning at 18 degrees. Usually, it's about 13, 14. Yeah, no one has any kind of jacket. Yeah, kuna kijoto. Anyway, all right, tuende wapi sasa?
Angalia traffic, 11 minutes to 6 a.m.
Traffic in Nairobi. Na hii ni kama teknolojia inatuchelewesha kidogo. Wow. And you can actually see there's a problem already on Thika Road. This is that entire stretch from the Utali Drift all the way to the Pangani interchange. You can see that whole stretch of red there. This is definitely going to be problematic. For those using Thika Road, whatever is happening at Mathare, next to the Mathare Hospital hapo, kabla ufike Pangani interchange, we're not so sure what it is, but here there is a little shida. This area here, this whole stretch here. So for people coming from Kiambu Road, you can take advantage of this. Get into the Pangani interchange now and get into the CBD as soon as you can, because it let a lot of trouble there. Further north on the Thika highway, not so bad. Areas like Githurai is looking good. The other major tributaries, a bit of traffic along Feather Tasia, nothing out of the ordinary. Makadara, Shauri Moyo, and Jogoro, not so bad. Getting into town, it's getting smoother. I think comfortable traffic, not so bad as you get to Haile Selassie Avenue. Most of the other roads from this side, Ngong Road, building up slowly. Wayaki Way, Mombasa Road are looking green at this time of day, not so bad. So the main problem is on Thika Road.
All right, let's have the quote of the day. Don't watch the clock, do what it does. Keep going regardless of the obstacles, because progress is made one step at a time. All right, let's come back and take a look at the local dailies now. No longer in charge, this is the Standard. Lost control, and once again the National Police Service finds itself at the center of a scandal, accused of escorting hired thugs to disrupt worship in Othaya. As public outrage grows, arrests remain elusive and promised disciplinary action has failed to materialize, deepening suspicion of institutional paralysis or complicity. From the chain of command to the silence of senior officers, the incident has reignited fears that rogue elements within the service operate with impunity.
Yes, and the biggest question was, what happened to the belief, or is it a facade, or is it a fallacy, that the police service is independent under the Inspector General of Police?
Now, the DCP leader is quoted here. He says the police officers John Maina, alias Birash, and Peter Wainaina Kabuga attached to Murang'a woman representative Betty Maina commanded police officers and goons led by Ambrose Manyeki from Murang'a. That is according to Rigathi Gachagua. Mushiri Nyaga, the police spokesman, says, we are providing support to the independent body just as we are in the Witima church case. These are incidents that must be conclusively dealt with. The Internal Affairs Unit is working jointly with IPOA. Lakini wako na concerns. How can police investigate themselves?
Yes, indeed. IPOA should come in. I remember Badu, and someone raised this yesterday, that the chairperson of IPOA, or the person who was chairperson, has now been nominated, or actually appointed, because I saw the Gazette notice, is appointed a judge of the Court of Appeal. That's Isaac Hassan. Now people are wondering, okay, fine, is IPOA still able to do this currently before the appointment of another chairperson? So bado kuna mshike pale.
All right. Of course, questions raised over police command structures. More officers go rogue. Latest incident saw police officers allegedly escorting hired thugs to cause chaos at a church in Othaya. This story is on page 4 and is the only story covered on the front page of the Standard. New report reveals a country at war with its women and children. Technical Working Group on Gender Violence releases latest data and recommendations. It shows that some 34% of women have been physically abused by age of 13.
Wow.
From 13.
Slightly more than a third of all women in Kenya.
Of course, this is the Nancy Baraza's led team. This story is on page 2. Man set record by collecting 2.2 tons of diapers. Wow. Isn't he used diapers?
Yes.
Page 3, that one.
There's an interesting story on page 5, and it has to do with politics as members of parliament continue with their retreat ahead of the return for the 5th session of the 13th parliament. So the speaker told them, actually, about 15% of you are not coming back next year. Vile kunaenda, tumeangalia na tumeona close to 60% of you, 6 out of 10, you'll not get re-elected.
Judge.
Okay. They have their own ways of doing it.
Anyway, on page 6, questions of a next poll as IEBC postpones boundaries review. Now, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission may not undertake a full boundary delimitation exercise this year, it has emerged, citing time constraints and insufficient budget. IEBC Chairperson Rasas Ethekon yesterday said the Commission's priority is preparations for the 2027 polls. All right. ODM was rekindle memories of past bitter ousters of top leaders, and that's story on page 8. School attack triggers teachers transfer amid silence by unions. There's a story on page 9, and on the back page, support and criticism for co-hosts ahead of 2027 AFCON. Harambee Stars coach McCarthy says Kenya was capable of hosting a major tournament. Focus is on East Africa after Morocco hosted a successful 2025 Nations Cup. CAF president anasema, I have a duty to develop football all over Africa. I cannot have football only in those countries with the best infrastructure. Yeah,
Morocco was something else. Morocco was something else. It has some of the biggest stadiums in Africa, some of the best football infrastructure that we've ever seen. Actually better than some European countries. But now next year, imagine. It happened this January, next year. Kenya tuko up. The best we have ni Talanta Stadium, bado haijaisha.
Lakini CAF president amesema inclusion matters.
Tusaidie hata wale wanyonge. From the Standard, we go to the Daily Nation, a totally different story here talking about SHA. So 11 billion shilling looted from SHA. Health CS Aden Duale says 40 rogue medics have been sanctioned. So the Social Health Authority lost 11 billion shillings to fraud between October 2024 and April last year. That's 6 months. with private hospitals submitting the bulk of fake claims. This is a Ministry of Health audit has revealed. So they say that quite a number of hospitals were actually admitting people for ailments that did not need admission, so that they could claim more. Others were claiming that the only way women are delivering babies in their hospital is through C-section, no normal births. Others are claiming they're doing some very serious surgeries, which they're not even capable of doing. And then they claim from SHA. So 75 billion shilling is the amount paid to the Social Health Insurance Fund in the past 14 months. But of that, 11 billion was looted in 6 months. We're not so sure kama ilishia hapo ama bado imeendelea. Another story here, murdered tutor had survived another Al-Shabaab attack. There's a story about Stephen Musili, a teacher at Hulugo Primary School in Garissa County, who escaped by the skin of his teeth a raid by suspected Al-Shabaab terrorists. The attackers also left a chilling warning they would return. Now on Sunday, the father of two was shot dead by attackers at his rented house in Hulugo. So they're already threatened they would come back. Aliponea na wakasema at only 35 years of age. And that's part of the problem in the northern and northeastern side of Kenya when it comes to education. That watu wamejitolea kwenda kukuwa walimu, then you lose your life. Very unfortunate. Pale juu, why there will not be new electoral units for 2027 polls matters to do with the review of electoral boundaries. IEBC says Ningumo. Next year's elections will have to rely on an electoral map drawn 14 years ago, a move that shortchanges communities in representation and resource allocation. The other challenge is that the elections themselves could be challenged in court because we did not comply with the Constitution in boundaries review. But let's not jump the gun. Inside pages, that Garissa raid that killed a teacher, how Al-Shabaab, I've seen the story. ODM 2027 demands spark jitters in President's party. Now wanasema they are still going for nothing less than the running mate position to William Ruto. All right, so back page, Matter Sports, 20 athletes found guilty of age cheating after probe. Watu wanadanganya. World Athletics boss Sebastian Coe warned of severe bans. At least 20 Kenyan international athletes have been found guilty of age cheating in the ongoing investigations. Lakini ni kitu Wakenya wamezoea sana. Kwanza ladies, wanakaa wakisema vile they are young. Kuna wale hawajaipita 24. Na tunajua tulikuwa na wao, sasa sisi tunazeeka, we almost 60 bado uko 24. Another story, Kenya calls off trials for World Indoor Games after being allocated only 6 slots. Yes, that's a Delimitation.
All right. Taifa Leo, wabunge wa bei ya jioni. Spika akemea wabunge wanaotumia mawakala kudai wakuu wa mashirika hongo wasitajwe visivyo katika ripoti. Uadilifu wa wabunge wanapotekeleza majukumu yao ya kikatiba katika kamati za bunge umetiliwa shaka tena, huku spika wa bunge la kitaifa Moses Wetangula akiwaonya vikali dhidi ya matumizi mabaya ya mamlaka yao. Wetangula aliwataka wabunge hao wazingatie sheria na maadili ya kazi ya bunge, akilaumu kamati kwa kula hongo. Ni habari katika ukurasa wa pili, na vidokezo zaidi, washauri wa Ruto mashakani. David Ndii na Harriet Chigai wakabiliwa na kesi wakidaiwa kudharau mahakama. Hawa ni wale walikuwa declared. Ilikuwa illegal ama nini?
Well, advisors walisemekana the appointment was not constitutional at all.
Yes. Bandarini wadau wavutana, ni habari katika ukurasa wa 3. India na EU zatia saini mkataba. Nasema waziri wa biashara wa India asifu mkataba huo akiurejelea kuwa wa kihistoria. Na kule juu, ile habari kuhusu SHA, mamlaka ya afya ya jamii SHA ilipoteza shilingi bilioni 11 kutokana na ulaghai kati ya Oktoba mwaka 2024 na Aprili mwaka jana huku hospitali za kibinafsi zikiwasilisha madai mengi ya uongo. Ukaguzi wa Wizara ya Afya umefichua. Ni habari katika ukurasa wa 3. Taifa Leo.
Kutoka Taifa Leo, let's take a look at the People Daily. It talks about opportunity knocks. Can they seize it before 2027 is a question, because as it would appear, when it comes to political discussions currently, President William Ruto appears to be a step ahead in as far as ensuring that people talk about his party and the coalition or the plans he has to form a coalition with ODM. So this is sort of a challenge to the other side, it's called the United Opposition. But there are opportunities, but can they seize them before 2027? There have even images of some of the luminaries in the United Opposition: Fred Matiang'i, Justin Muturi, Martha Karua, Eugene Wamalwa, Rigathi Gachagua, and Kalonzo Musyoka. Are they able to leverage on some of the opportunities available to them to challenge properly President Ruto's re-election? That is what this paper focuses on.
It's currently leading at 27%.
28% according to the last polls, yes. But then again, if you consider that he won with a 50% plus something, that was a significant drop, more than 22%. Yeah. So, but then again, can these people take advantage of that?
You know, the questions that I was seeing going on around online, that coalition between UDA and ODM, wouldn't it weaken ODM if they cannot front a presidential candidate, if they're going for the deputy president? Because parties, it's a competition. Then that coalition.
It is indeed a big discussion. If at all, ODM for the first time in like how many, in 2 decades?
Yes, 20 years.
In 20 years, they're not fielding a presidential candidate. So that will be a different kind of ODM. That's a different experience for ODM members. They don't have their own presidential candidate. Now they're relying on a presidential candidate from a coalition partner. Interesting.
Interesting. The top story.
Pale chini, no more dynasties inside Kenya's youth-driven political shift. Youth gani? How are they registered as voters? That's a concern. Pale juu targeted again and again the list of attacks on Gachagua. I think the Daily Nation did it yesterday. They listed the chronology of events from as early as 2024, immediately after his impeachment, 10 times that he has been involved in such fracas. That's the People Daily.
All right, the Star, chemical castration for men to end rape, game changer. And some strategy to take the wind out of the sails. This story is on page 4 and on page 5. Let's see kidogo tuangalie ni nini inaendelea hapa. This is with regard to that report on GBV, and a task force assigned by President William Ruto to look into rising cases of femicide and other forms of GBV has proposed chemical castration for sexual offenders. Now they know. Amend the Sexual Offences Act 2006 to include chemical castration for both male and female child defilers and defilers of people with disabilities. Now, chemical castration involves the use of chemicals or medicine to stop the production of sex hormones, leaving the offender with no urge.
Uko tu,
yani you cannot. Like, ili ajana erectile dysfunction, hata sasa hiyo ni afadhali. Hii, you cannot at all.
Well, anyway, I think even more worrying are these statistics on the front page.
Now, women aged 15 to 49 years have ever experienced physical violence by country. They're here on the front page, and leading is, of course, Nyeri County with 53.7%.
That's Muranga.
Is it Muranga?
Muranga, yeah.
It's
Nyeri
Muranga.
Is 36, yes.
Nyeri is 36. I beg your pardon, sorry for that. And then we have this one, 41.9%.
Uasin Gishu.
This is Uasin Gishu inafuata. We have Kiambu at 41.7%. So the top three are Muranga, Uasin Gishu, and Kiambu counties, leading.
Kakamega and who else? Kakamega and Tharaka Nithi following very closely.
Yes. Kakamega at, Embu at 40.3. Is it Embu? This is Embu. Yes, Kirinyaga is at 39.6. Embu is at 40.3%, and then Kakamega at 40.1%. Top 5 counties leading in physical violence against women. From Malaysia to Thailand is another story here, unanswered questions in case of missing Kenyan. It's on page 3, where Tangla blasts MPs over rent-seeking amid plans to punish anti-government MPs.
That thing about the speaker telling MPs that they're rent-seeking is very interesting, because it's what the president said last year, that MPs have turned their job into demands for money and other things. Wakakasirika, in fact, they'll defeat anything from the president. Oh, what happened? See, they were back in State House juzi wakiimba.
All right. Kule juu True Fairness 72-hour tree hugging record ratified by Guinness World Records. Hii ni kama tutaongelea the whole week. Kila newspaper inaongelelea kila siku. It's okay. Disband police, citizens deserve a service that protects, not oppress. This is according to Lavis Sultan. That's the Star, fresh, independent, different.
Definitely very fresh and different. This, I have not seen it in any other daily, at least not on the front pages. Finally, Business Daily, house prices rise fastest since 2015 as land slows. Home prices have jumped 7.7% amid economic upturn. Rents have contracted to by 2.5% following apartments glut. Yeah, because zimekuwa nyingi sana. Kileleshwa apartments zimejaa hivi. Kilimani.
Kila siku construction.
Imekuwa someone and make fun it's a construction site. Vumbi imejaa kila mahali. So house prices in Nairobi and its environs grew at the fastest pace since 2015, driven by rising demand for standalone units as land prices slowed after developers reduced the need for plots to build apartments following a glut. Another story, Del Monte's deals with sister farms trigger 6.76 billion shillings tax war is a story there. And on the ticker, fear of ghost workers in counties as 25% of staff unverified. Wanaandikwa tu fwa.
And it's every year.
Every year. Counties have become employment bureaus. Kuandika tu watu from the same community. Another story, KQ stocks rallies 70% on rumors of strategic investor. And LAP fund, that's a local government fund, local authorities pension fund, on the spot for 1.3 billion shillings advance payment to contractors. A contractor may pay 1.3 billion advance. Those are the dailies this morning.
Wow. All right, once again, State of the Nation.
Yes, Joe Nyoto, Senator Muranga, Senator Dr. Danson Mungatana, Senator Tana River, and Professor Frodo Gola, who's an economics and governance expert, will be in studio in a few minutes to help us take a look at the big discussions according to the dailies.
All right. Today being a Wednesday, we're asking situationships, ghosting, and commitment fear. Is this the new normal? And we have a counselor, atuambie shida yenu iko wapi. Why are we normalizing this?
All right.
That is Dr. Julius Kimani. They'll be here from 8 a.m. Now, tuangalie caricatures, wanasema vipi.
We have 3 cartoons today, and we start with the one on the People Daily. Gachagua versus the state. On one hand, kuna jamaa ameshika rungu kubwa anatandika hiyo jamaa kwa crown kwa kichwa ngang. On the other hand, amesimama sana mwambia, who? Me? How am I supposed to know what happened to you? Na ile jamaa amefura hapa nundu moja serious. The same police when you cause the violence wanakuja kusema mimi sijui.
All right, inaitwa Gachagua versus the state. Star no stake. This is the Star now. Anaambiwa stick to the play. This is DP Gachagua. Nani anampatia thumbs up?
Cleophas Malala, the deputy party leader. Unajua amekuwa accused at end anaandikanga is a script writer for a lot of this political drama.
Yeah. So stick to the play. That is to the party leader DCP.
All right, that's a cartoon on the Star. Finally, cartoon on the Daily Nation talks about UDA and ODM. And you remember the concerns within UDA that wakikuja watakula yetu.
Yes.
Labda wewe caricature of the president telling them, usijali, we just need 3 million votes. We need them. We really need 3 million votes. All right. Lakini wanapewa hapo chakula ingine, it doesn't look very interesting.
Director anasema mbosho. Interesting. We already see you online. Advisor Pastor Emmanuel Barasa, thank you so much. Huyu ni kama tunampatia special shout out. Every morning he's here and everybody else. Anasema good morning Kitengela, well represented. We see you. Ruth Karani watching from Kamai Gatingaini. Nasalimia Liz L Ndungu and Shushu Watwana. Good morning to you too, Eliud Sugar Boy. All right. Teacher Boaz anasema good morning from Tapach, West Pokot County. Good morning to you too, Mukoya, Iowa.
Vini mmoja anasema mufaolanga murie Fred Ndimuli. Kelvin Conscience Kamau watching from South Limpopo. Okay. John Dirango, good morning to you too. Caprice Lightbringer, you too must be my favorite Thamos. You always manage to keep the conversation hot regardless of the topic. Your versatility is admirable. Thank you so much for that, Caprice. Sharon Kananu, good morning. And Ezra Kiprop, also good morning.
Scooby are so goodest. Morning to you all. Nakuru, we up. I say thank you so much for being up. Pastor Emmanuel Barasa ametuma salamu hapa. Wastila Bungoma Saini niko Kitengela na Rausha Ben Wambi Alfunji Munialo, wife Genti Bahati, Stano Masinde, babangu Philip Mafumbo Chebukui, mam Karo akiwa nyumbani, Sitila Bungoma, timu kubwa. Jamani.
Manchester United.
Umweni. Ilisha. Keep interacting with us on our socials, TV47 Kenya, on Facebook and on YouTube, on X at TV47 Digital. And you can tag us at @_Dida. The hashtag is Morning Cafe.
My handle on X is @FredIndibuli. See you after the break.
No more excuses. It's time to rise, grind, and own your mornings. Join Coach Shadrach Oma every Monday to Friday from 5:30 to 6 a.m. only on TV47. Full body workouts, zero equipment, maximum results. Start strong, stay strong. TV47 Fitness with Coach Shadrach only on TV47. Looking for the perfect way to kick off your weekend?
Pole. Hiyo ni salamu ya Mluya kabisa.
Tune in to Friday with Betty, the most exciting show on TV.
Betty, one tear gas. Betty, I don't know where this guy's going.
From the latest news and trends to unforgettable moments.
Wewe ni simpa.
Friday with Betty is your go-to show for a fabulous Friday night.
Theological, meteorologist. What is that word, Willis?
Tune in this and every Friday at 9 p.m. and let's make your Fridays unforgettable. Only on TV47.
This is Kenya's #1 talk show, Dr. Frederick. My name is the Eagle himself. Dr. Frederick is my name.
We are flipping the script, but guess what? Or should I say, guess who is taking over tonight's show?
Ani wewe furahia umekaa na kasipuni. CP unit ni
Punet. So you guys knew about
Piga.
Sawa basi. Nasema that I gave you the whole time.
I don't want to go back to brokenness.
Never.
I just love the high life. Siwezi taka kuimagine ati nimesota.
You have to watch to find out. Tune in every Wednesday from 7:30 p.m. Enjoy uninterrupted live streaming of your favorite programs on TV47 and Radio 47.
With a crowded 2027 general election calendar and strict timelines to deliver a credible poll, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission IEBC has been forced to push the long-anticipated delimitation of electoral boundaries until after next year's election due to census-related cases in court.
We are therefore telling Kenyans that substantive boundary delimitation will be undertaken after the general election using the legally and nationally applicable population census. The 2019 census is a matter that is in court, and yet the Commission requires that data for us to publish what is called a preliminary report of boundary delimitation, and for us to publish a notice of intention to delimit electoral boundaries.
The decision comes ahead of a High Court hearing on Wednesday, where petitioner Philip Langat is seeking orders to stop IEBC from conducting any by-elections, referenda, and next year's general election until the boundaries review is completed.
So that's an active matter that I don't want to delve into the facts. But yes, I know the concern is, yes, we needed to have concluded the boundary delimitation ahead of the general election. But then, of course, I've explained the factors that led to where we are now.
In his petition, Langat argues that proceeding with elections before undertaking the review will undermine fair representation, citing significant population changes, among other factors. However, lawyer Ndegwa Njiru argues that the absence of a boundary review cannot affect next year's general election, noting that the number of constituencies remains unchanged and the conduct of the polls is not compromised.
Whether we delimited the boundaries or not, the constituencies are still available where an election can take place. As to whether there is equitable and equal representation, then that is another issue that deals with the question of representation and not the question of constituting the presidency.
Ahead of next year's general election, IEBC is grappling with competing interests inside and outside court ahead of a highly staked poll after Tanzania and Uganda. Apul Kamau, TV47 in Nairobi.
Yes, indeed. That's a discussion we want to delve into right now. Questions over next poll as IEBC postpones boundaries review as required by the Constitution. And now the legality of the 2027 general election has come into sharp focus with this pronouncement. With me this morning is Professor Fred Ogola, an economics and governance expert. Yes, we do understand the challenges. IEBC may not be able to do this, but this is the first time. It is unprecedented. We've not been able to go into an election without doing what is required of us in the Constitution. This could present legal challenges. Do you see probably a possibility that even the elections of 2027 could be nullified, or the results of the election?
Fred, I don't see it because, first of all, let's say that we have always gone to an election with some things not done. Remember, even Raila was running, he came with some 7 items that were supposed to be done before the election. They were not done, but the elections were done. And the thing is that when people are looking at election day, what is this election cycle? It's the preparation of the election, which means procurement of ballot issues, all those things, then the election itself, then the counting of the election, then declaring results. So that is outside this thing for me. You can't say because boundaries were not delimited, now that this person is not elected. Remember that discussion will come to fore, that what makes election legible. The only thing you can do is to stop the election from taking place. But once it has taken place, then it is outside the issues of boundaries and the rest. Because there are so many things that are always not complied with before the election. Remember, even some people did not even have certificates enough to be in the ballot. To answer in the ballot, you said, did they win the election or not? Did the process be followed by IBC to declare them winners or not? So I don't think this is the case. And then lastly, Fred, and I think this is my main point. We are here deliberately by somebody's decision that they made to make us be here. And this so-called quasi-crisis has been created by somebody. Remember, immediately William Ruto became president, IBC was disbanded. Or was he not aware as a head of state that this might create a crisis going forward? Why did it take so long? Remember when the Gen Zs went to the street, one of the requirements was that please put in place IBC immediately. How long did they take to put this in place? So this is a deliberate action. There is also connect this thing to Mudavadi's statement that they could even use this to put some changes in the constitution. Now, this all can be done. And last but not least, Fred, I will quote Jesus on Sabbath day, who says that, was the law made for the man, or man made for the law? So, if we have no president in 2027, and we have not done the boundary delimitation, which is more serious issue.
Okay.
So you'll find that in the hierarchy of problems, we might find we rather deal with the issues that boundaries have not been delimited, and we have a going concern of a government, than to focus on boundaries and there's no government.
Let's consider the economics of it, because the whole intention was to ensure that using the population quota, all 290 constituencies at least are at par in as far as how big their population is, so that the resources sent to a constituency is at par with the neighboring constituency. There were constituencies that did not fail to meet the population quota back then, and they were considered protected until the next boundaries review. Failure to do that, the next census will probably be in 2029, meaning that we may not have a review of boundaries up until then. Don't you think that there are people who may be disenfranchised in as far as development is concerned, CDF disbursement and that, and such like things, at least for the next electoral cycle, because there are some constituencies which are way below the population quota?
Fred, that is an important point, because there are some constituencies, of course, that are smaller. Even there are some counties that actually do not meet the threshold of being called a county. In fact, according to me as a governance expert, the devolution created a lot of heaviness on the ground that it's so difficult, and they take a lot of taxpayers' money. It is more of extractive. That's why you find that a lot of money going into what you call the expenditures, not going into development. So that's a problem that needs to be reviewed, not just from the point of view of boundaries regarding tribes and the rest numbers, but how feasible is devolution? How much can devolution contribute development, or how much does devolution take away development? Devolution is a good thing, but over-devolution, where you have too many devolved units, is creating a lot of duplication. And then there's a lot of role conflict. We've been discussing on TV here where does the MP's work begin, and where does the governor's work to begin, and where does the national government work to begin and end? Look at the construction of markets. Look at the construction of affordable housing. Look at the education capitation process. So there's a lot of overlaps there, and these overlaps are created. And I can tell you, Fred, if there's a political goodwill to do boundaries elimination, it can be using AI. If there's a formula, isn't it? Why are you wasting time on that? It's not feasible. If you want to do this thing, it can be done, Fred. Look at how they did some things like impeachment of some people. It was done with a supersonic speed. If there's a formula in the Constitution on the requirement of what makes something a constituency, a county, a ward, and the rest, do you think, Fred, with applying that formula, you can sit on your desk and come with a way to do it? Why don't we agree on a formula? Public participation, look at what they've been doing here when they want, for example, to sell Safaricom, when they want to sell Kenya Pipeline. Look at that time when they wanted to impeach people, how public participation was done throughout the counties in one day. I can tell you, they don't want to do it. If they want to do it, they will do it. At the same time, politically, it's very risky for the president to even dare this. Remember, if you go and kill one sub-county as a president, do you know you're going to get no votes from there? So it's not that it's not feasible. It is not politically viable for them. Remember that these boundaries were created, they were political boundaries. They were not economic boundaries. They never look at the economics of it. Look, for example, if you go to Nyanza, you find the couriers, they say they want their own county because they don't want to be part of Migori County, isn't it? Now, you come to places like Tarakaniti. They are saying Tarakaniti is too small, isn't it? They want to merge it. If you take Tarakaniti and merge with Embu or Meru, will you get votes from Tarakaniti? So there's more to do with political will than actually talk about the economic.
Do you see this potentially reigniting the debate about one man, one shilling, one vote? Because it is down to sharing of resources and how it is done. Because even the whole point of delineating and reviewing boundaries is to ensure that resource allocation is at par across all counties. Do you see this, the pronouncement by IEBC, potentially reigniting that debate?
But Fred, let me tell you honestly speaking, I don't believe that. I don't believe that we want more constituencies to have equitable distribution resources. Let's go, for example, the Kenyan constitution was...
But Prof, the delimitation of boundaries is not about increasing the number of constituencies. They stay at 290. It's just moving one boundary probably to encompass a bigger population.
It is political, my brother. Look, let me take you to a place like Siaya. The headquarters of Siaya County was debated because some people wanted it in Bondo, some people wanted it in Siaya. It ends up in Siaya, but Bondo is more developed than Siaya. So it is not just like that. What I'm trying to say here is that America in the US, go to the states of the US, there are some states which are very small, but they remain states because of some other reasons. A state is not just because of numbers. It cannot just because of land volume. It could be historical that this remains a state. Come to Africa. Why didn't we argue that some countries in Africa are too small to be a country? Swaziland is a country, and some countries are as big as Tanzania. So there are historical issues that makes a country remain a country. There are historical issues that might make a county remain a county. It's not just about using a ruler and a pen and then you cut and say this should be like that.
Yet it is a requirement in our constitution. Allow me to welcome onto the set Senator Joe Nyoto, Senator Murang'a County. Karibu sana, Senator, onto the set so that you can also contribute to this debate. The IEBC has now made a pronouncement that it is not feasible to conduct the boundaries delimitation and review exercise before the next elections, meaning that we are going to the polls without that exercise, which is demanded for by our constitution, having been conducted. There are questions, the matter is already in court, but there was debate, I think a year ago, about resource allocation. And the clamor for 1 man, 1 shilling, 1 vote, which ties into this same thing. Because some people are saying some constituencies are too congested, some are too vast with a lower population. Do you see this pronouncement by IEBC reigniting that debate this year?
Thank you, Fred, and good morning to you and our viewers. I'm not a lawyer, but I know that delimitation of boundaries should happen at least 2 years before the elections, which we were not able to do because, of course, there were cases that delayed the constitution of IEBC. And so legally, I think they have a point that it is not possible actually to make a review. In fact, even the review that they are saying, the partial review they are saying that they could make, I think we may need some legal, advice on that, whether it's legal or not, because the constitutional provision is 2 years before the elections, especially where such maybe some new constituencies emerge. Where there are going to be elections in new constituencies, for example. But then, Fred, I think the bigger debate is about what you have finished with, allocation of resources. I think it's a high time that we discussed and decided whether we should still continue, for example, making CDF allocations depending on the number of constituencies, or we should look at the numbers. Because at the end of the day, Fred, and somebody could say that this is because of where I come from. At the end of the day, we allocate resources to people. Of course, we have to look also at what we call, some areas, of course, are geographically, very expansive. We will also have to consider that. But I think, for me, it should be the basis on which we allocate the resources. Should we continue allocating, equal amounts of money in terms of CDF to constituencies? And some constituencies have inhabitants of over 200,000 people, while others could have about 30,000 people. So we need to ask ourselves whether this is something that we should continue with. And Fred, you'll remember this arrangement that President Uhuru had with the late Prime Minister. I forget what it was called. Whatever was thrown out of... the
BBI.
The BBI, yes. It had some very good proposals, in my view, where they were like, there were going to be some constituencies would have some several members representing them. Because again, representation is about the people. So if I'm representing 200,000 people, somebody else is representing 30,000 people, and each one of us has one vote in the house in which I serve. I mean, is this representation fair? So I think BBI, in my view, had a very good, it was a good proposal.
Yes.
That a constituency like Ruiru, we may not have different constituencies, but we have 3 representatives. Because, like I've said, I mean, if about representation, I'm representing 200,000 people, you are representing 30,000 people, and you have just one vote each in the House.
Could this be the problem? Because this is a provision in our Constitution, but it would appear it is one of the most inconvenient conversations to have, at least politically. Even the president had to ask people not to go to go slow on that one man, one shilling, one vote demand. Don't you think, Professor, that probably it is high time we relook at some of the provisions of our Constitution, that they are probably we may not even be able to implement them?
Yeah, Fred, actually, I want to maybe inform my very respected colleague, that is Senator Nyotu, that it is a flawed economic argument to only go with numbers, because as an economist, if you go only with population, some regions might have less population but have higher needs. So what is important is the need, not more of the numbers. Because, for example, you could go to a place like Kiambu, and because of the Kiambu, you might find that the numbers are there, but they may not have as many schools as if you go to a place in Turkana. So there are some places that may have more disease prevalences than other places. So, for example, and some places are already more advanced. For example, if you go to Kiambu, they might have very many hospitals already. So you're allocating money to them, and they don't have more infrastructure needs. So you can always not go for numbers. I don't agree with it. And Fred, if you ask me as an economist, we can have an algorithm, and I think I've just come up with one here, that if you come up with the population, you measure poverty levels, graphic size and remoteness of an area, development gaps, health and education indicators, fiscal capacity of the regions, together you can come with an algorithm. When we did algebra, when you say A is equal to BC minus XYZ is equal to 10, isn't it? That tells you that you can never say either or. If you say, for example, is Ruto a bad person or a good person? You might find that that is not a way to look at him, isn't it? Or if you say, for example, is Gachagua a good or bad person? Either or is very myopic, isn't it? We can have multiplicity of looking at this matter.
So, Prof, what you're saying simply is that whatever we have provided for in our Constitution currently is flawed and does not solve the problem.
Yes, and Fred, I said this earlier in this show. The fathers, the people who drafted the constitutions were lawyers. There was no economist who could look at the economic implications of this constitution. Secondly, as an economist, we can model a constitution to see how much it will take to implement it. Have you heard even the president saying that this is too much, isn't it? Have you heard even the CS Treasury saying that devolution added to the, if you fully implement this constitution, Kenya will be fully broke? Like Fred, you go home and tell your wife that in this home, anybody will eat whatever he wants, isn't it? Anybody can come back and go out whenever they want, isn't it? Anybody can watch whatever they want, isn't it? Then it means if you are 7, everyone needs to have a TV so that you can watch whatever you want. The economic implication of having 7 televisions. Okay. The economic implication of having 10 kitchens where anybody can cook whatever they want. The economic implication of everybody going to any church they want. You understand? So if you model that, you may find that economically it's not feasible. But I told you, you go to the US, they have how to do this. If we are open, we can come with an economic formula. And I've told you that you must consider a multiplicity of factors. Okay. Like now, Fred, let me tell you, go to the same parliament. When they are passing the limit of how much money is allowed for someone to campaign, do you know the county which is given the highest amount of money needed for campaigning? Turkana. But population in Turkana is low. Why are they saying that? They said you should not pass more than 100 million shillings to campaign in a county, if you are a governor, isn't it? That was a draft bill. They have not passed it, but it's a draft. Then they say in Turkana, because of the dispersedness of the area, you can surpass that number. So if you're a governor, you are running for governor of Turkana, you may need more resources to campaign than a governor of Nairobi.
All right.
And here you are telling us that when it comes to allocating resources, then Nairobi should have more resources than Turkana, while the governor of Turkana spends more money to campaign than a governor of Nairobi. It does not make sense.
Right, all right. So
and economically does not make sense.
The IEBC has made that pronouncement. They will not be able to do this, but either way, will we ever be able to conduct a proper review of boundaries? And for what reason? Because resource allocation appears to be the bone of contention, but also a very inconvenient discussion or debate to have politically, especially 18 months to the next election. Let's take a short break. It's time for us to take a break, Prof. When we come back, probably I'll give you a short period to respond to that. You're watching Morning Cafe.
No more excuses. It's time to rise, grind, and own your mornings. Join Coach Shadrach Omer every Monday to Friday from 5:30 to 6 a.m. only on TV 47. Full body workouts, zero equipment, maximum results. Start strong, stay strong. TV 47 Fitness with Coach Shadrach only on TV 47. Looking for the perfect way to kick off your weekend?
Pole. Hiyo ni salamu ya Mluya kabisa.
Tune in to Friday with Betty, the most exciting show on TV.
Betty, one tear gas. Betty, I don't know where this guy's going.
From the latest news and trends to unforgettable moments.
Wewe ni simpa.
Friday with Betty is your go-to show for a fabulous Friday night.
Theological, meteorologist. What is that word, Willis?
Tune in this and every Friday at 9 p.m. and let's make your Fridays unforgettable. Only on TV 47.
This is Kenya's #1 talk show, Dr. Forget Tonight. My name is the Eagle himself. Dr. Forget is my name.
We are flipping the script.
All right, welcome back. And before we delve into matters politics and the church attack that happened on Sunday in Othaya, I just want to give my panelists one more opportunity briefly to finish up on that story about the discussion about boundaries review.
So Fred, I said if you go only with the numbers, you ignore the following. Population ignores the need. Also, you ignore historical marginalization of certain areas because they have been marginalized. I know there's what they call equalization fund, but it does not really compensate it as it is. Cost of service delivery in some places is very high, as I told you, that because of the disparity of places' infrastructure. It also encourages political manipulation by saying, for us, we have numbers. Mm-hmm. You saw last time, the people from Western Kenya, where I come from, were telling Raila that BBI is being used as a way to bring it down because the number of proposed constituencies to be increased in Mount Kenya was much more higher than the drop in the ocean that was coming from Western Kenya. So it was even being told, if you accept this, you can go to State House, then they impeach you. So those discussions will come again. And I believe that should not happen. So it carries a lot of political manipulation. The fifth one does not account for demographics. You know, demographics about age variations, is about gender. So there's a lot of things which can be ignored if you just follow one thing called population. I know someone told us tyranny of numbers, but sometimes they must be tyranny of other things.
Right.
The other thing, it amounts national equity. You know, when some people believe some people are getting more than others, then they feel like these guys are more privileged than we are. And you see, that creates a lot of animosity.
And that's a true discussion. We've had instances where people are talking about those people are getting more than we are getting.
So I'm saying, if you do that, it becomes clearly that this benefit a certain region.
Okay.
And then this brings about the issue of national equity and equality and unity. Then lastly, it might actually contradict the constitutional principles of development. When Kenya wants to prosper, you can be held back by this thing by saying, we have to have as many units as this. And I want to end by saying, Fred, mostly people want these boundaries by saying they are looking for numbers, but people are just looking to create more political positions, which will become a burden to the Kenyans and taxpayers and bring down development.
Senator, do you think that such a provision, it's already inconvenient and may never really materialize? Do you think that this is one of those things that should be considered for review when we get to that point?
Yeah, I agree with the Prof that we need to make other considerations, especially when we are allocating resources. And of course, I didn't say that population should be the only, parameter that should be considered when you are allocating resources. But it's an important parameter to be considered. And if we, we are weighting the parameters, population should still carry, a bigger weight, because, and sometimes when you come from the Mount Kenya region, sometimes you feel isolated because there is that perception that Mount Kenya has always gotten more than its fair share, which is actually just just a narrative. Because Fred, if you come there and Prof, if you look at it more deeply, when people hear people saying a particular region is getting, they are referring to Mount Kenya. But just come there and see, while other regions are able to give from CDF or even from county allocations, sometimes 10,000 in terms of bursary to a student. You'll find that in our region, because of the numbers and an allocation that is equal to other regions also, you find that most of our members of the National Assembly will give a bursary of 2,000 shillings per student, which is a concern. And when you hear people, like there is a consensus from every other region that Mount Kenya should not get, that we should not allocate the resources depending on, or based on the numbers, just because you think that Mount Kenya has numbers and so they should not, get more resources. I think it's something that it's unfair. And the representation especially is also something that we must think about. I did not hear Professor Gola tell me where the fairness is when I represent 200,000 people in a constituency and I have one vote in the National Assembly, while another colleague of mine from some other region, has a population of 30,000 people. And each one of us, both of us, has one vote each. I would have wanted to hear the take of Professor Gola on this. Because if you are talking about representation, we are representing people. How do you give me one vote while another person, while I represent 200,000 people, while another colleague of mine represents 30,000 people, and you give them one vote like me? Is there fairness in representation?
He's a governance expert. Are you able to respond to that?
By the way, Fred, I first of all have to say this. I'm a boy who has been brought up most likely by Mount Kenya people. My mother, I call my second mother. If you go to my PhD thesis, I said I had three mothers, and I had to ask this, I had to answer a tough question during my PhD defense that how do you have three mothers? And I said my first mother is our mother Mary. The second mother is who gave birth to me. And the third mother she's coming from Meru, in a place called Kianjai. And I believe that I know about Mount Kenya. So Mount Kenya sometimes have become a victim of their success. No, Fred, sometimes your success can become your problem. Like when you are at home and you're the firstborn, you may find that some things you don't get because you're the firstborn. And you find that the lastborn gets some things because they're lastborn and they have done nothing. Like when people are fighting over food, you're like, no, give your brother. So, so I'm sure that's actually, Senator, maybe Mount Kenya suffers because we believe that you have already been privileged. Remember that the first president came from your area. Okay. You produced another president. So I'm sure that's the case. But to answer your question.
The one on representation.
Yes. You see, there's a misnomer that when you're voting in parliament, you're voting for your constituency. If you go to South Africa, they talk about representation, but you're not representing any region. You just list, that's called zebra listing. You are just listed as people who will be in parliament in case your candidate wins the election, then you are given. So there is no member of parliament in South Africa that represents a specific region in South Africa. So when you are in parliament, let's say for example, people are voting whether to pass finance bill or not. You are not voting like I'm coming from Murang'a. You vote as a Kenyan with a Kenyan interest. So your vote is not representing your region because that vote has no weighting of 200 people behind you. You are a Kenyan, Fred. I actually tell people when I teach people in corporate governance as board members, and I give you one. In Kenya, to become a board member, you must be nominated by IEK, Institute of Engineers of Kenya, Surveyors of Kenya, ISPAC, and the rest. But when you come now to make a vote in the board, don't vote that I'm coming for ISPAC, so I disagree with it. You're voting that you care about that company going forward. Right. You care about your country. So I would ask my brother, Senator Nyoto, when you go to vote there, don't vote by saying, I come from Mount Kenya, so we are impeaching Gachagua. No. All right. Ask yourself, is it good to impeach him? Has he done something wrong? Isn't it? Don't say, Sisi from Luenyanza atutaki Gachagua because Baba alisema ni Gacheta. We go by voting by saying, has he committed a crime? Is my fellow Kenyan? It is the same air I breathe. We share the same mother. We share the same ancestry. Right. And you vote as a Kenyan who want to take forward. But now on separation, on the issue of resources, that can be done without a vote. I think, Senator, I've tried to answer your question.
And I think you've answered it correctly. Thank you for that. One comment here, JJ says, the money allocated to northern counties where it's eaten mercilessly should be allocated where it's needed most, in densely populated areas, i.e. Kibra and Ruiru. I'm sure there are people who would agree with you, JJ, but this is a conversation that definitely continues. I want us now to move to a different conversation. Yes, matters IEBC, they've made pronouncement that boundaries review will not happen, at least not before the next elections. It could come later. But then again, it's a very, very dicey and politically inconvenient conversation to have. Very many politicians don't want that conversation. Let's move on to what happened on Sunday. It is there on the front page of the Standard under the headline, "No Longer in Charge." The use of police officers and government-issued firearms and vehicles in political violence. Let's watch that story, then set the pace for this conversation.
January 25th, 2026. Sunday morning, worshippers at ACK Witima Church in Othaya, Nyeri County were forced to flee after tear gas canisters were hurled inside the church. Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, who had just arrived for prayers, says police officers fired live ammunition, used tear gas, and torched his vehicle in what he describes as a government-sponsored attack.
They injured women and children and hurt many people. The police torched one of my vehicles, KDK 002, a Toyota Land Cruiser. They deflated tires of all the people who were in church and caused untold damage to vehicles.
Gachagua explained that 15 police officers, together with guards linked to a Murang'a politician, were involved in the assault. This is not the first time Gachagua has faced hostility during church services. Earlier this month, his convoy was blocked in Kirinyaga, and in November last year, police fired tear gas during a service in Kariobangi North, Nairobi County. Wiper Patriotic Front Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka and Jubilee Party leaders have strongly condemned the attack against Gachagua, while government-allied politicians accused Gachagua of planning the attack for sympathy.
Yaani sasa haiwezekani kwamba muundo wa siasa zetu umefikia kiwango hicho.
Stop manipulating people of Kenya, lying to the people of Kenya, all manner of propaganda to the people of Kenya, to the extent of carrying goons, hooligans, carrying guns and tear gas to a church.
Where can we get access to tear gas? Is it sold in a supermarket or in Gikomba? Where do we get access to AK-47 assault rifles? Where do we get access to government land cruisers? Where do we get access to police uniform? We can't.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen has condemned the incident, saying violence in places of worship is unacceptable. Murkomen has promised swift investigations and that those responsible would face legal action. The National Police Service, through spokesperson Mushiri Nyaga, says investigations into the matter has commenced. The Inspector General of Police directed the Internal Affairs Unit to move in with speed and commence investigations with the deserved urgency. Police claimed that there were no reports of injuries. However, Gachagua has dismissed Murkomen's statement, insisting that the perpetrators are known and that the attacks against him are carried out with the knowledge of authorities.
Murkomen cannot tell the people of Kenya that they are going to investigate anything. The police cannot investigate themselves. The vehicles number are here, Kipchumba Murkomen. These police officers' images are circulating on social media. So what are you telling us you have asked the IG to investigate? You cannot investigate yourself. This is a government attack, well known to Kipchumba Murkomen. Stop pretending.
Even as government pledges action, many questions have emerged. Who planned the attack? Who exactly was involved? For now, residents of Nyeri and the nation at large remain anxious, awaiting answers as confrontations at Rigathi Gachagua's rallies continue to escalate. Joash Onsare, TV 47.
Yes, indeed, questions are many, and the biggest concern now is how or whether or not the independence of the police service is a fallacy. On the front page of the Standard, no longer in charge, and they have the image of the police IG there. Senator Nyoto, I saw you standing right behind the former deputy president, meaning that you were with him at Wetima Church when the attack happened. You've had very senior government officials, including a CS, saying that it is the former deputy president who stage managed this attack. Whether or not that's true, the biggest concern is how access can be gained to the police service. We know that politicians have been using goons for a while, that one we know. But now that we've graduated to using police officers and the police officers are available for such kind of work, that is the greatest concern we have right now.
Thank you, Fred. And allow me to say that the events of last Sunday were very sad, and it shows that we are, we are getting into some abyss. I mean, I may not have words actually to explain that, because when government decides to send the police officers accompanying goons to go and to get into a church and disrupt a church service, tear gas, a church building during a church service where women and children are in attendance. just because Rigathi Gachagua is there. Just because Rigathi Gachagua will, tell one or two things about government that government does not want wananchi to know. It is a very sad situation. It is actually, sometimes I get really irritated by CS Roko because, we used to appear with him here many times. But I think it's the high time, people in authority started, reasoning and saying things because they know that they have reason to say them, not because it's politically convenient for you to say something, and not because you want to please President Ruto. I think, and I'm not here to condemn anybody, but I think C.S. Roko, I'm only mentioning him because you have featured him. I think he is a disgrace to this society. And anybody else who has said that these attacks are organized by Rigathi Gachagua himself with a view or with an intention of getting sympathy from Kenyans. Fred, if Rigathi Gachagua is organizing goons and attacks to attract sympathy from Kenyans, where women and children and other innocent worshippers, for example, suffer the way we have been seeing, because this was not a first attack. If government hates Rigathi Gachagua and those that subscribe to his philosophy and his ideals, like you as truly here, why is government allowing those goons, in quotes, that Rigathi Gachagua has or is organizing with? People who even have guns, illegal guns, because if they were going to be goons by Rigathi Gachagua, masquerading as police officers with guns, why is government not, and they have NIS, National Intelligence Service. Mm-hmm. They should know whom it is and who is planning to do that and arrest them. Why I say, and I would really wish to meet somebody like C.S. Roko so that he can tell me why, as a cabinet secretary, he is lamenting. Why doesn't the government protect innocent worshippers from the goons of Rigathi Gachagua? Why have they not arrested them? They have been named.
Have you been summoned by police officers for any questioning with regard to what happened?
No.
Has there been any attempt?
They will not do that because they know they are the ones that planned these particular attacks. And the names have been given. You look at the Standard. Look at the Standard yesterday. Look at the Standard today. Rigathi Gachagua gave the names of the police officers who have been perpetrating these violent attacks against Rigathi Gachagua. And Fred, there are videos showing a police vehicle, leading a convoy of some other two vehicles ferrying these goons. Then somebody will want to tell you that the police officers were there to intervene because, of course, Rigathi Gachagua's goons, lobbed tear gas canisters to the church. In the first place, no particular, individual is allowed to hold, tear gas. Why don't they arrest?
Question, Senator.
Yes.
You've been a politician allied to the government at one point. There have been accusations that some politicians allied to the government now are the ones doing this. Have you, when you are allied to the government, ever had such kind of access to police service that you could get a police unit to accompany you somewhere and cause violence or block your arrival or do anything? Because that is the accusation now.
Not at all, Fred. And you must also remember that not every other pro-government politician has this kind of access to police. Just a few, maybe, who have been tasked with doing dirty jobs. So it's not every politician allied to government that has this kind of access. It's just a few politicians who have this access. And this access is given directly by the President Ruto himself. And that is why the President has not condemned. Have you heard President Ruto condemn that incident that happened in Nyeri on Sunday in SIGNET? He doesn't. He won't. There have been other attacks in churches, in Kariobangi, in Mweki, in many other places. He does not condemn this because he knows he's the one who has empowered these politicians. And Fred, probably we should say, that it is the high time President Ruto tells the nation what problem he has with the church, what problem he has with women and children. No. Because the first church attack was in Kiambaa in 2007. And there are reports that he was linked to it. What is happening now when he's president and he does not even condemn that? This is a president who is on record as saying that he was prayed into office by the church. This is a president who used the church as a platform to get elected, to campaign. This is a president who now has a problem with the church, women and children. It is the high time President Ruto explains to the nation what problem he has with the church, with women, with children, all the way, because you cannot give politicians Senator, access.
I'm giving you more time because you were there.
Yes.
This. But there have been comments also immediately after the attack by some of your colleagues that, for example, the former deputy president had been abducted. Was there any truth to that? Or did some politicians on that side also try to play a few games?
No. What happened, Fred? And I don't think anybody claimed that the second deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua, was abducted. I think when this particular incident happened, of course everybody took off. You don't take off in any particular direction. And for some time, we did not know where Rigathi Gachagua was. And so people had panicked. And they were worried that maybe he had been captured or abducted. But nobody claimed that we had certainty he was abducted. Only there was some time, about 2 hours or so, that we didn't know where the whereabouts of the second deputy president. And that is, people were worried. People were in shock. So we did not at any particular point in time claim that the second deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua, was abducted. But people were in shock. People were worried that maybe these attacks were happening because maybe they wanted to capture him. And so we did not, and I want to repeat this because we didn't at any particular point in time claim that he was abducted. We only claimed, rightly so, that we were not sure where he was. Yes.
All right. We spent a lot of time with the senator because he was there and he was giving us a first-hand account of what happened. But my concern now is not even on the events that transpired. It's on the integrity of what we term as the independence of our police service. That's a question that is being asked on the front page of the Standard. Do you believe that this gentleman is in charge of the police service? If a politician can have such access that nowadays you don't even need to hire goons, you can just walk into a police station and walk out to the unit of police officers with government-issued firearms.
Fred, unfortunately, I have a very different opinion from you and from Senator Nyotu.
I do not have an opinion on this. I was just asking.
Yeah, but I'm saying, let me tell you, I'm a governance expert, and this is not a title. This is actually my expertise. I'm a very serious security investigator. We even have what's called ABC of investigation. A, assume nothing. B, believe nothing. C, check everything. And I've done that in this case. And I'll surprise you that what we are having now is what I call managed opposition. Managed. This is managed. This was stage managed by both sides, by both opposition and government. And that's why no one will be arrested, Fred. I can tell you that something was co-planned by two people. You've seen a situation whereby you can walk on the street and you find two people fighting, and you join one side, then they steal from you, the two people. This is what is happening.
Are you saying they're both working, both sides?
Yes, they're working together. Yes, I have this.
The deputy president and the
yes,
president.
And this is not rare, Fred. If you want to know a sign, it's whereby both government and opposition are very harsh at each other, but there is no structural changes. It is to give the citizen impression that there's somebody representing them. Like there are some parts of Kenya who thinks that the Gachagua represents their interest, isn't it? And there are some who believe that the president represents their interest. So long as that remains the same, there's a win-win situation for either of them. This has been seen in very many democracies. It's just too common to imagine. Mm-hmm. Look at what was happening.
So you believe that this attack was staged?
It was stage managed by both the state and that person who was stage managed.
To what end?
The person who was under attack is the church and the citizens of Kenya. They're being used for an end, which is political. Let me tell you, Ford, do you know how important it is when you're playing football that the opponent remains alive? Do you know it's important that when the opponent cannot continue playing, the football match ends? So I can tell you, for me, if you want to know that opposition actually is opposition, there must be some structural changes. Raila could go to the city and say, from today, this is not happening. You understand? Until the government does something. So here, what are they demanding? When you are fighting, when you are doing all this, is that he was rebuild something in church, isn't it? Education was an issue, isn't it? Healthcare is a problem. What are they doing about it? I care about opposition that brings changes to Wanjiku.
Okay, Prof. So if I hear you right, you're saying that all this happened just to take the public's attention from some other issues.
And sometimes you can even find that two people can agree to look like they are fighting and they are both benefiting, but the people they are fighting for are the ones who are losing. Like the child who was shot in that church, the person who got a bullet injury is the one who suffered. And I can ask you, Fred, you are an expert, Fred. Do you believe that the government can come to abduct somebody in camera, in church? Tell me any single abduction that took place like that. Normally, they just disappear with you, and once you show camera evidence, you are safe. They have been arrested, Fred, 12 times by the police. There have been 3 attempted abduction. It is my camera that saved me, Fred. So I can tell you very well that even to see, like I saw Malala standing somewhere in the forest with somebody saying he has been abducted. Fred, that is a script that can be seen clearly. There is nothing really that happened like that.
Back to my
Those
question.
Are movies. Those are Hollywood movies.
Back to my question about the independence of the police service.
Yeah.
If at all they can be used in such acts, if at all, because they're saying assume nothing, either by the government-allied politicians or those allied to the opposition. That kind of access to a police service, that's a step further, because politicians up until now have just been using goons with no particular identity.
Yeah.
Now, the fact that they've upped the game and have access to the police service, don't you think that that is an indication that this guy is
Fred,
not
that question is a brilliant question. Let's go back again to how the state institutions are set up. I take you an example. When Trump lost the election, then he says no leaving office, isn't it? The military told him, we swear allegiance to the Constitution, not to you as the president. So go out. You understand? That's what made Trump leave White House. Here, we swear allegiance to the president. You hear me? The president is the appointing authority. So they can be used for somebody's end. Ukisikia wakisema mtumishi kwa wote, unaweza tumiwa na mtu wowote kufanya chochote. So that is the problem I fear. Remember, there's a time when
But if you claim that, Professor,
no, Fred, let me give an example.
How could they be allied, or how could they take instructions?
Let me give an
from the
example,
opposition?
Fred.
If they say allegiance to the president.
Do you think the police service has DCI, isn't it? Is there something they don't know about what happened? They know everything, isn't it? What are they doing with what they know? Nothing. Gachagua was a deputy president when Raila was on the street, isn't it? Did he not use the same policemen, isn't it, to do whatever he did to the opposition by then, even harassing Kalonzo Musyoka? Now he's a victim. No, Fred. I think Kenyans are too brilliant to be cheated like that. Actually, my age, Fred, my age is not his age. Our generation, we can see clearly and we don't take sides. Dearer to us is the opposition. Dear to us is the opposition. Dear to us is these people who are leaders, political leaders. But dearer is the truth. Fred, it is clear like light, like day and night, that this was stage managed, and that the policemen can be used for service. I'm telling you, many politicians made their career by even checking to the police station and saying for 1 week, then say they were arrested. These things have happened. Okay. It is the highest bidder. If you have money, Fred, you can be abducted tomorrow. I can arrange for you abduction. You'll be arrested in broad daylight. You'll be escorted by police. Even the Land Cruiser for the police will escort you. You'll be, they'll scratch you, but you'll be okay.
All right.
How comes all of the politicians who went to church, none of them has a scratch? None. Tell me which one was in charge that has a scratch. But the citizens who are in charge that day, who are being used as human camouflage, were hurt.
Okay. Senator, a lot the Prof has said, I know you'd want to respond to that, plus including that accusation against the former deputy president, that when he was in power, he did not hesitate to use the same police against those who opposed the government that he was siding with then. Now that he's on the other side, why should he cry foul?
You know, today, Professor is a good friend of mine, but today he has really disappointed me. And, you know, when he says that it was stage managed, I think then he was not listening when I was making my submissions. Assuming that, as he has said and has been said by many people, that Rigathi Gachagua should not cry now because when he was deputy president, he ordered, you know, a crackdown on maybe ODM supporters that time or Azimio supporters that time. You know, that's a very sad argument because, one, Rigathi Gachagua was deputy president and not president. Number two, you know, that is to say that now Rigathi Gachagua has no right, or he should see.
Does that excuse him from any of the pronouncements he made as deputy president with regard to a crackdown on other supporters using state agencies?
Yes.
Does that excuse him?
No.
You said he was...
No. What I'm saying is, you know, that's an allegation that when he was deputy president, of course, he ordered the crackdown against Azimio supporters. Never mind that there is no time that maybe President Ruto was away for months, and so Rigathi Gachagua was in charge of security and everything. I mean, it's just neither here nor there. It's just a convenient political argument that Rigathi Gachagua used to order the crackdown on Azimio, you know, protesters, because he was not, president. There is no time that President Ruto was incapacitated in any way so that the Rigathi Gachagua now was acting president. And you know the president can give orders even when they have traveled out of the country. I mean, you just need to call the AG of the police or something like that. So that argument, first of all, is a wrong argument, because Rigathi Gachagua didn't act as president in any particular time when he was deputy president. Number two, you cannot tell us. I mean, I would have expected Professor Gola to restrict himself then, assuming that we politicians have no rights and we should be attacked anyway and injured. But protection of women, children, and those other also men who are in that church. I mean, why does the government, if you are stage managing, that is what I had asked, why is the government allowing us to stage manage? Why does government not arrest those police officers in quotes that we are using, you know? Because what we should look at is the rights of innocent Kenyans in charge. If we are stage managing this, if Rigathi Gachagua is stage managing this, why is he being allowed to stay?
According to his according to his argument,
my time. Why is he being allowed?
According to his argument, it is that you're working in cahoots with the same government.
Yes.
I mean,
to stage manage all this. You're not.
That's a very funny argument. Should it come from?
It's not funny.
Professor Ogola is a very respected member of this society. I mean, so you are assuming that Rigathi Gachagua sat somewhere with William Ruto and decided, let me stage manage this particular attack. I mean, how now? How? You know, some things are impossible. You know, sometimes, Fred, I say, it's just like telling me that I can wake up tomorrow and find myself having changed into a woman. I mean, it's not possible. I mean, you cannot tell me, Professor Ogola, that President Ruto sat somewhere with President Ruto sat somewhere with the second deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua, to plan about this. I mean, it's not possible. And I think the other thing that I want us to, you know, Professor Ogola has based his argument on the fact that he's saying that serious opposition, if we are serious about this, then we would bring what he has called structural changes. I mean, I want to remind Professor Ogola that to bring a change in this country, maybe you can bring an amendment in the House, either House, or maybe bring a bill or a motion or something like that. But Professor Ogola, please, you will not beat the allies of President Ruto in the House, and everything is subjected to a vote. So you cannot say that we have not been able to bring any meaningful change, probably in the Constitution. We cannot. President Ruto has already captured both houses, both Senate and the National Assembly. So you cannot say, in fact, it's a very sad argument to say that Rigathi Gachagua is working in government. I mean, today, the bogeyman of the president and his government is Rigathi Gachagua. I mean, every time, then to say that they are working together, I mean, how now, Prof? Surely, how can you argue that way? And so my major concern is the innocent worshippers.
Oh, yeah.
If Rigathi Gachagua is stage managing this, the government should come in and protect life and property, which is the basic thing a government should do. So if it is Rigathi Gachagua, why have you not arrested? I know I'm repeating this question because it's an important question. Why haven't you arrested those goons that he is using to gain sympathy? Why haven't you arrested those police officers, you know, operating illegal guns? Why haven't you arrested them as government, at least for the sake of innocent women and children?
Okay. Valid
and
question.
Those are the
Fred, I think that Senator accused me for having not listened to him, but I listened to him very keenly. I was even actually writing notes. You could see me, these are my notes I was writing. I want to say that I didn't say that the fact that Rigathi Gachagua used the police to fight Raila and Kalonzo, he does not deserve sympathy, no. You asked me, can the policemen be used by anyone? I say, yes. I was saying that when Gachagua was in, he used them. Now he's out, someone is using them. They are, like let's say, for example, Nikama Kitty, Silvio, where I'm sitting, anybody will come and sit here. And they can sit the fashion they want. They can sit here to praise me, they can sit here to insult me. So I'm trying to say that policemen are looking like they are instruments of somebody. They are state instruments. So whatever the state wants, they want. So I'm telling you, in this one of Nyeri, that state was there. And I'm trying to explain the question Gachagua was asking. How do I get the land cruisers? How do you get it? The state will give you to do for them something that benefits both of you. Have you heard them saying there is no permanent enmity, there's permanent interest? So if attack in the church was beneficial to both of them, they will do it. Mark my word, I'm sorry. Understand? So for me, this was managed. And I want to say, I said it earlier, the only people under attack were the children, the women, and the men in church who suffered real injuries. There is none politician, if there is one, I'll treat them myself with my money, who got a single injury, not even a scratch. But the innocent Kenyans are being used to further interest, and I call it managed opposition. The other one is called elite consensus and public theater. Elite can agree to look that they are fighting, but they're enjoying. Just like what's happening in Odinga family, isn't it? It's like Oburu is fighting with Ida and Winnie, then Winnie comes and says the family is together and we are helping each other and we are supporting. No, what the hell is that? Okay. No one should believe that nonsense, Fred.
All right.
And I can tell you, is this for elite continuity? You know, these guys are part of the system. And let me give you this one. Logic doesn't lie. I want to say the following, that Ruto has always been, is, and will continue to be Uhuru's project. Gachagua has been, is, and will continue to be Uhuru's project. Uhuru's project is Ruto's project. So even now they're saying that Gachagua is saying that Kalonzo is his project. Gachagua's project is Uhuru's project, is Ruto's project.
Everything is Uhuru.
Matiang'i is Uhuru's project. Uhuru's project is Ruto's project.
Interesting.
So I'm telling you, we have a managed opposition, managed.
Talking about politics.
I can tell you, Fred, I was Raila's close friend, advisor for some time, isn't it? There are some things opposition can do for the state. It happened.
All right, all right.
So this one was a stage where we want to create who are the contenders so that some people who can change the country are taken aside. Then we say someone representing them who does not represent them.
All right.
This is elite capture. This is elite continuity. This is elite theater. It has nothing to do with Wanjiku, Onyango, Wamboi, Kemuto, Amina, Abdallah, Akuna.
All right. Let's continue talking about politics. Of course, whatever happened in Nyeri was a sad, very regrettable incident, the attack on a church where the former deputy president and a number of his allies were attending church service, because those who ended up getting injured or affected or fell victim of that were the women, children, and the elderly who were simply attending church service as worshippers. Now, as we come to the close of this news review, I want us to consider the politics of the times. And even as we do that, let me take a look at some of your feedback before we take a look at the UDA-ODM politics briefly. I think hapa kuna jamaa, Professor Ogola is wrong. How can Gachagua abduct himself? That's a question Joshua Juma is asking. And I guess many people don't understand how you came up with that idea that the former deputy president is working with President Ruto. But again, that's a conversation online. But I want us now to consider the politics of the times. UDA and ODM, and I don't think we may have time for the story because of the discussions. So let's just go straight to the discussion. I'm struggling to look for a headline inside this page that talks about the United Opposition, Senator. What's happening there? But I can see, apart from the attack on Sunday, which has been discussed quite a number of times, in the inside pages I can see UDA and ODM. And the question is, 18 months to the elections, don't you think that in terms of perception, and given the numbers we saw in State House on Monday this week with the UDA elected leaders there, that in as far as perception, the president appears to be a step ahead? The dailies are simply talking about UDA and what's happening in UDA. There's been a mass exodus of some politicians from your side of the political divide. They were present at State House, and now everyone is talking about UDA and the plans they have with ODM.
A second to tell Professor Ogola, when he hears people say that there are no permanent enemies and friends, it's because people fight today, but tomorrow they come to the same table. We have not seen President Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua, come to a table. It only applies when people come to a table and now when their interests converge. So we have not seen anything like that. So to assume that this was co-planned by Rigathi Gachagua and William Ruto, of course, that is a misplaced argument from Prof. And when he says that nobody was injured, no politician was injured on Sunday, I don't know whether he was watching when you played that clip. He would have seen Kabando, elected twice in Mukurweini, and now seeking to be Nyeri senator through DStv, wiping tears from his eyes from tear gas. I mean, Professor Ogola.
We have white tears of tear gas too.
Is of course, deliberately.
But time will vindicate me. Fred, time will vindicate me.
Prof, it's my time.
We're sharing the pictures.
Turning a blind eye. I mean, when tear gas comes to a church, it doesn't, separate politicians and other people. Everybody has eyes, and so you cannot. That is a misplaced argument. Now, you have said that depending on or going by the numbers that you saw in State House on Monday during, was it NGC or NDC, that they show that the president is ahead. Fred, you must remember that in that meeting, they had invited all the members of the National Assembly or the members of the Senate. In fact, I had an invite. I know it just came, but anyway, I still contribute towards UDA, and of course, maybe that is I'm still in the register, and that's why maybe the...
You still make contributions to the party?
Yes, I do make contributions to the party monthly, about, is it I think 30,000 every month, and so there were members of both houses, there were MCAs from all over, and I think some other people. So of course the numbers had to be there. And the president will never lack numbers, Fred, because the president pays for numbers. even in his rallies. And I am on record having dared the president and challenged him. If he says that he has regained the mountain, I challenge President Ruto today. Let people tell him to hold an impromptu meeting in Mount Kenya. And you see how many people will turn up. You know, not a prearranged meeting. Just come to a place, you know, like Keno, a place like maybe, you know, Mokoyo in near Murang'a town, and hold an impromptu meeting. And then we see how many people are going to attend. So, you know, you cannot ferry people in buses and motivate people. You're going to pay them 5,000 each. Then because you are managing perception and say...
Don't you think that perception matters even in politics?
No.
18 months to the next election. If all the narratives are about UDA and ODM, and I'm struggling to see DCP in the papers, don't you think that even just by perception, then the president appears to be a step ahead? I'm saying appears to be.
Of course, nobody will match the president in terms of resources. And this is also somebody who, by dint of being president, of course, has his people everywhere. Because in every meeting that the president calls, then all the members of Ngao will be there. I mean, their chiefs will be there. I mean, assistant chiefs will be there. So these are people in every other corner of the country. And so they are people whom, when they are told, you must bring, I don't know, this number of people, they will do that, especially because there is a monetary gain that is coming.
Senator,
so perception-wise...
I'm comparing this to what we saw prior 2022.
Yes.
And back then we had Raila Odinga with his handshake with President Uhuru Kenyatta, and we had Deputy President William Ruto then.
Yes.
And in as far as media coverage was concerned, they were at par. You could actually see these were peers that they received more or less the same coverage. Right now, we're seeing one-sided coverage.
Fred, President Uhuru is very different from President Ruto. President Ruto campaigns every day since he was elected. President Ruto started campaigning on day one when he was elected. This is a president who is always campaigning. In fact, sometimes some of us wonder when he takes time to sit down, listen to reports from like intelligence, chiefs, listen to advice from all these number of advisors he had, because he's campaigning all the time. President Uhuru was not campaigning all the time like President Ruto. And that is why President Uhuru, of course, maybe most of the things that you people from the media would report were just a few things that he was doing in nation building. Mm-hmm. But President Ruto is all over every day. And he's the one who does everything. I mean, nobody doesn't know that he's the one who was the major marketer of SHA, the major marketer of the new funding model. He does everything. He does everything. What CSS is supposed to do, he's the one doing. So he has to occupy a lot of space on the media, because where the CS education would have appeared, it is President Ruto who is making pronouncements. Where there was an issue, Professor Ogola, we are just two. So once I finish, you are the one who is going to come in. You don't have to raise your hand. So where any CS was supposed to say something, it is President Ruto saying it. So you cannot compare him to other presidents who have given his CS time and space to work. And so that is why he's enjoying a lot of media coverage. The other perception that I want to correct is that there is mass exodus from DCP to UDA.
Back to UDA.
I mean, mass. You call two members of the National Assembly mass? I mean, mass, people are misusing English words. I think people need to, then the word mass needs to be redefined.
Does that exodus, mass or otherwise?
It is not an exodus. It is just two people moving from one camp to the other. I mean, does that become mass exodus? I remember, Fred, in the early years of this administration, a few members from ODM visited State House. I mean, and you know them, Akina Mark Onyamita, my friend Jalaz, people like Professor Tomo Jienda, and that group. I mean, nobody said there was a mass exodus from ODM to UDA. I mean, it's...
My question is premised on the headline on the front page of the People Daily, Professor. They say opportunity knocks, Can they seize it before 2027? And they've put a list of people in the United Opposition who may be luminaries. Probably they should have included you as a presidential candidate there. But probably the question is to all of you who are challenging William Ruto's presidency. Opportunity knocks. Can you seize it before 2027? Because the perception appears to be going the other way, that it would appear he is ahead.
Fred, let me help my brother Senator Nyoto, because actually we are reading from the same page. I'm just somebody who is Solomonic. Actually say, I am Solomonic. During Raila Odinga, William Ruto, I said, I'm not Rutonomics, I'm not Alinomics, I am Solomonic. I just say where the truth is. And when it hurts somebody, it's up to them, because the truth is very rude. You know, reality is rude. You wake up in the morning and there's sunshine. You like it or not, it is. Then it goes dark. Mm-hmm. So I want to say that, Fred, your analogy is not correct, because you are comparing where we are comparing incumbent who is running against somebody who is not running. Shonota, you see that. Last time, Uhuru Kenyatta was not running. Raila was running versus Ruto. So the incumbent did not enjoy state power, so he allowed Raila and Ruto to compete. In fact, I remember the media was showing how much coverage was being given to Ruto versus Raila, and they were almost 50-50 because Ruto or Raila was not running.
Depending on their level of activity.
Yes,
as well.
yes. But at the same time, opposition suffers from a few things. One, they suffer from external attack by the state. Normally, the state has got an issue that they either have to manage the opposition or suppress them. Also, opposition suffers normally, and this is normal, from internal challenges. Like now, who is going to be running the flag bearer for opposition? It's not yet known. They're still having those issues because Ruto is the de facto candidate for the other side, isn't it? Here, we have not gotten one. Who is leading them? You see, whenever there's a meeting...
It is 18 months to the election. That's why...
So I'm saying, even in the end, there's a time when it looked like it is Raila not running. Those things were there. Raila was saying, tell me when. Raila was a towering figure. You can't compare Raila with these people. You know, Raila had run 5 times. Kalonzo has only gone once. Matiang'i has never been in the ballot. You see, Eugene Wamalwa, they have never been there. So give the credits where it is that opposition is norming. And Fred, let me tell you what. If there's a revolution, it is not supposed to be televised. Who televised revolutions? So William Ruto has gone through what's called a revolution, and he does not know.
So this level of inactivity should not
this should not worry us.
The supporters of the United
Opposition. It doesn't worry me, because let me tell you what. Fred, do you know the political activities I do? You don't know, because you don't report them in the TV. Do you know I went to Kilifi, and I have almost 50 polling stations where I've registered 20 people each. I can talk about Marekebuni polling station. I can talk about Pamoja. I've gone to Mbulia in Taita Taveta. I've gone to Kwale. It's not being reported. Is that not political? The vote will be won in a polling station, not be won in the media. So if Gachagua is saying that he's very busy mobilizing in Mount Kenya, some of them are not being reported. When he goes to church, it's being reported. You know, media is sensational. Sometimes don't report what's on the ground. Do you know I was in Kisumudogo in Malindi for 1 week mobilizing? Kisumudogo is a church which I built when I was a missionary. So Fred, what I'm trying to say is I should not worry. But let me tell you something. Why don't worry about William Ruto being leader? Let me go to what he said in State House. He said to the UDA members that I have a good scorecard. Remember that? Secondly, he said he has a good plan. Then he said he will win by 2 million to 3 million votes. Let me address Kenyans now. Please allow me.
As your final comment?
Yeah. Kenyans, there is nobody who sets exam, prepares exams, sits for it, administers it, and then marks it and declares his results. That must be a mad person. There is no one who is the accuser, is the prosecutor, he's the criminal, he's the judge. Actually, he's even the one putting people in prison. William Ruto, we know his record. You understand? His scorecard is that during his administration, so far, 143 young people have been killed, isn't it? 83 have been abducted. SHA is not working. Education sector is in trouble. You go to food security, cost of food products are very high. Cost of living is very high. William Ruto has overborrowed. He has overtaxed Kenyans. Pending bills are too much. And the corruption has skyrocketed. Because during Uhuru, they said they were losing 2 billion per day. Now it is 4.5 billion per day in corruption. And I'm not using my numbers. Go to Kenya Bureau of Statistics and the EACC. We'll give you those statistics. They are not my statistics. So with that record, which scorecard? How can you tell us your scorecard is good?
Okay.
And then I want to, Fred, just allow me.
Because
you gave him all the time and
no,
he told me
I need him to make a final comment.
I'm finishing.
Yeah.
I finish with this short anecdote. When I was in St. Mary's Yala, there's a child who went and said that he was given a report card where he was getting 48, he changed to 82. 49, he changed to 99. Then the column for comments remained the same. 98, very poor. 96, very poor. William Ruto's record is 98 must go. 96 must go. 99 must go, because he's giving himself a scorecard, and Kenyans are not the ones saying your scorecard is good, your plan is good, you mean well. So must go, has to go, and has to go in Jesus' name, he has to go.
All right. Senator, final comment.
Thank you, Fred. And I think finally, I think I want to ask President Ruto to remember the Constitution that he swore by and said that he was going to defend it, that if we have to fight politically, that we should not use violence. I mean, he says that people do not have brains. I think let us see him using his brains more, and we compete at that level of brains versus brains. He must allow us to tell people our nonsense, if he believes it's nonsense, even as he tells his wisdom, for the people to decide. He must not use the police. He must not bastardize the police service by making them, accompany goons who are causing mayhem, especially in churches. It is not the right thing. It is the wrong thing to do for a president who was elected on the basis of faith. Just to remind him that, and to ask him to, of course, fix our education. I mean, he has said that the children should report to school with or without fees, which is a good directive, but then let him see to it that capitation is released to schools, is disbursed to schools in full. Let him see, the headline today on The Nation is that we have lost 11 billion SHA has lost 11 billion. So let him intervene, because he was the major marketer of SHA. I think we didn't see anything like this with the NHIF. Let him arrest this so that our people can continue enjoying health services. And finally, to the people of Rift Valley. When everybody else is demonizing Mount Kenya for having produced presidents for 35 years, Rift Valley had Moi for 24 years. And we'll have Ruto for 5 years. That's 29 years. If producing a president is a sin, then Rift Valley must be equated with Mount Kenya in being sinful. And when this argument is made by other communities from other regions, members of the Rift Valley or people from Rift Valley should be the last people to talk about that. Least of all, the members of the Kalenjin community, and I'm not tribal on this, because they're the ones leading this chorus, that Mount Kenya people think that they are the only ones who can lead this country. We want to remind Kenyans that Rift Valley has produced presidents for 29 years. The only difference between Rift Valley, particularly the Kalenjin community, is 6 years. 35 for Mount Kenya, 29 for Rift Valley. And you can compare when, during those presidencies, Kenya had the worst in the economy and in the violation of human rights. Is there for Kenyans to see.
All right.
Yes, the isolation of Mount Kenya must stop. We have a right to be in this country, and we have a right to fight for our people who elected us.
Joe Nyoto, Senator Murang'a County, asante sana. Professor Fred Ogola, economics and governance expert, thank you for your time at TV47. Our panelists this morning, as we take a look at the big headlines. Yes, indeed, 11 billion shillings looted from SHA in the first 6 months. That's a big one on the front page of the Daily Nation. No longer in charge, that's a police IG. Chemical castration for men to end rape is a big one on this fresh, independent and different Star newspaper today. And house prices rise fastest since 2015 as land slows down. That is a state of the nation, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Freddie Ndimuli. Good morning.